Call to order of a regular meeting of the Goodyear City Council, May 19, 2008. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance and Invocation, led by Councilmember Souza.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The council wishes to extend sympathy and condolences to our employees, Maureen Scott and Dean Kokenar, in the passing of their mother. Keep those folks in your prayers. Heavenly Father, we pray that you guide this council in its deliberations this evening for the betterment of all who live in this city. We ask that you protect the men and women employees of our city in the functions they perform for this community on a daily basis. We ask that you take into your arms those of our military who have given their lives to bring democracy to the countries of Iraq and of Afghanistan. For those that remain, bring them home safely as soon as possible. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
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 Okay, thank you. All council members are in attendance. We do have accounts payable for April to approve and ratify.
I'm going to bow out of the vote, given my previous reasons for not voting on this one.
Okay, Vice Mayor recused himself from accounts payable subject. Any questions or comments? Okay, could I have a motion to approve the accounts payable for April 2008, please?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Cavalier and a second from Councilmember Holland. All those in favor signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. It's 6-0. We have no communications today. Okay. Opportunity now for anyone from the public who would like to address this council on any subject not on this evening's agenda. Not on this evening's agenda. Okay, seeing none. Ask the clerk, we'll move to consent, and I'll ask the clerk to read consent items by title only. And before we do that, I would state that consent item 7F has been postponed pending additional deliberations between the county and the city on the MC 85 funding. Okay?
Hey, Mayor, item A is to approve the draft minutes of a work session and a regular meeting of the council held on April 28, 2008, and a work session held on May 5, 2008. Item B is approval of resolution number 081235, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Goodyear, Maricopa County, Arizona, approving and authorizing the city manager to execute the First Amendment to the Airport Gateway at Goodyear Development Agreement relating to the improvement of the western half of Bullard Avenue between I-10 and Van Buren, authorizing and directing the city manager or his designee to take all actions and execute all documents necessary to carry out the intent of the resolution of the First Amendment, including but not limited to accepting on behalf of the city all conveyances of real estate interests provided for in the development agreement and providing for an effective date. Item C is COAC number 083837. The council is to approve a letter agreement for the use of water from well in and the second amended and restated temporary utility easement license agreement for the existing above ground water line. Item D, item number 083820, council to consider and approve a professional services contract with Tim Delaney of the Center for the Leadership and Ethics and Public Service to lead the Ethics Committee and to appoint a subcommittee consisting of Vice Mayor Antonia, Councilmember Souza, and Councilmember Cavalier to review applications for the Ethics Committee and make recommendations to the City Council for the appointment thereof. Item E, 083839, an agreement with Civica Development Agreement for Type 2 Non-Irrigation grandfathered groundwater rights lease. And that is it. that correct? That's correct.
Okay. Would anyone in the public wish to remove an item from the consent agenda? Would anyone on council wish to remove an item from the consent agenda?
Mayor,
Councilmember Cavalier?
I'd like to remove 7E.
And the rationale?
I need to recuse myself.
Okay. So let me do let's do 7A through D whenever we're prepared, and then we'll recuse you. Okay. Could I have a motion to approve consent items 7A through 7D?
So much.
Second.
A motion from Vice Mayor Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Holland. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor, real quick. Can I just ask real quick, one clarifying question?
Sure.
On 7D, given that we're putting a subcommittee together, does that mean we're going to be doing public notifications on those meetings between the three of us?
Yes, we will. We'll post a notice.
So those will be open public sessions? Okay. That's it. Thank you.
It's to review applications.
Right, but I'm going back to the discussion we had at our
Yes.
advance, not our retreat, our advance. But
Under a subcommittee. Now,
Under a
I
subcommittee.
will back up and say it's theoretically a personnel matter, and that subcommittee could choose to go into an executive session.
sure,
Yes.
I want to make sure we're posting it. Okay.
Okay, can I have a roll call vote, please? 7A through 7D.
Vice Mayor Antoniak,
Aye.
Councilmember Sousa,
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier,
Aye.
Councilmember Lord,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne,
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Passed 7-0.
Okay, Councilmember Cavalier is recusing himself. Now to 7E, agreement with Civica for the Type 2 non-irrigation grandfathered groundwater rights lease. Any comments from council on that one? Okay. Could I have a motion to approve 7E?
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilmember Sousa and a second from Vice Mayor Antoniak. We'll go with the roll call on that.
Councilmember Sousa,
Aye.
Councilmember Lord,
Aye.
Councilmember Holland,
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Antoniak,
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Passed 6-0.
Okay, we'll now move to the business part of our agenda. We have two items on business this evening. First is to consider authorizing initiation of an annexation of the Lufthansa training facility and adjacent properties in the Sonoran Valley area. And Katie Wilkin will present.
Thank you, Mayor Kavanaugh, members of the council. Staff has received a request from Earl, Curley, and Lagarde on behalf of Lufthansa German Airlines to annex 1,020 acres in the Sonoran Valley area. The subject property is located in the Sonoran Valley area in a peninsula of county land that was left out of the Sonoran Valley annexation. They're located just north of the Butterfield landfill and surrounded almost completely by BLM lands. This specific annexation application includes the Lufthansa property, which is highlighted in yellow, which is the parceled out area on the map. And there's also BLM lands here in the blue that are on the north and the western part. And there are 4 private property owners, which I highlighted in orange, which make up 70 acres total of the 1,020 acres. In 2000, Council adopted a 2-part process for annexation. The first step is to determine if the city wants to pursue annexation from a policy standpoint, which is what we're determining tonight. The second step is to proceed with the statutory procedures. It is important to note that authorizing staff to move forward with the annexation process does not obligate the city to annex the land at all. This area of county land is surrounded almost completely by the city of Goodyear, so no other jurisdiction would be able to annex this land. The 4 private property owners are being brought with the annexation, so not to create a county island. The applicant has made some initial contact with these private property owners, and they have received favorable response from 2 of the property owners and have not received any objection from the other 2 property owners. This means 3 out of the 5 property owners are in favor of annexation, which meets the 51% test. The county zoning for this property is Rural 190, and Lufthansa has a special use permit with the county to operate the training facility. The city will need to designate comparable zoning at the time of annexation, and Lufthansa will be submitting a use permit application to the city to process along with the annexation if we're authorized to proceed. Staff is also reviewing a pre-annexation development agreement concurrent with this request, which will address the extension of infrastructure improvements and services. The pre-annexation agreement will provide that the city is under no obligation to extend new services or infrastructure. This training facility does support Lufthansa's operations at the Phoenix Goodyear Airport, so annexation of this property will allow the city to support Lufthansa and the continued use of the Phoenix Goodyear Airport. The location of the training facility may also provide some economic development opportunities in the future. Staff does recommend that council authorize the initiation of the annexation process, and I'm available for any questions, and the applicant is also here available for any questions or comments.
Okay, thank you. Would the applicant like to make a comment? You don't have to, but you do. Okay.
Well, only briefly, Mr. Mayor. For your record, my name is Scott McCoy, Earl Curlin and Lagarde, 3101 North Central in Phoenix. And we're fully supportive, obviously, of staff's position in terms of annexing. Lufthansa has been talking about this for some time. I don't know if you remember, but back when we did the Montage annexation, it had come up at that point, and there was a thought that maybe we could bring Lufthansa along. Unfortunately, the time frame that we were on for the Montage property didn't work for the Lufthansa folks. So now they're back. They've had an opportunity to fully consider it and talk to the board in Germany, and so they're ready to go and be excited to be part of the city of Goodyear and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the public? Okay, thank you. As for motion then, if we could have a motion to authorize the initiation of the annexation.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we authorize the initiation of the annexation of Lufthansa training facility and adjacent properties in the Sonoran Valley area as described by staff.
Second.
I have a motion from Vice Mayor Antoniak and a second from Councilmember Holland. It's open for discussion. Can't beat that. Okay, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye, please.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, 7-0. Thank you. We'll now move to consider adoption of a resolution to approve the tentative budget for fiscal year 2008 through 2009.
This is lighter than past versions. It doesn't weigh as much.
Must be something wrong with it.
It's not on the side.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Terry Canada, and I'm the Budget Resource Manager with the Finance Department. And tonight, I bring before you the tentative budget. Vice Mayor, you spoke a little too soon. I'd like to draw your attention to the booklet that was included in your
Just a
packet.
little louder or closer.
Closer so you can hear me. I want to draw your attention to the booklet that we provided in your council packet. A lot of hard work went into this. It probably is a little more of a thump factor than you're used to. There is an introduction section that we've added moving forward to, it's more like the final book, I guess is what we'll call it. There's an introduction section. We also have the operating budgets for all of the departments within the city. And lastly are the budget schedules, which will be the detail that's published in the paper, meeting the legal requirement. With that, I'll move ahead to the presentation on the tentative budget. Wanted you to know that state law does require that each and every city in the state adopt the tentative budget on or before the third Monday in July each year. Once this budget is adopted, the expenditures may not be increased. However, we may decrease the budget based on that tentative amount. This adoption of the tentative sets the maximum limit for expenditures. Again, I want to just review the budget process to date for the fiscal year 2008-9 process. The initial process began in the fall this year, which with a mid-year financial review, which included an update of our revenues and expenditures. Most importantly, the revenues were adjusted downward. I think we all are aware of the slowing economy, and at that point we began to scrutinize the expenditure side of the equation in attempts to balance the available revenues with the ongoing expenditures. Continuing on, the department's had a series of meetings. We also came back to the council with a number of work sessions, and following that, we now have the legal requirements to formally adopt the budget. Tonight you'll be asked to adopt the tentative budget, and this again is through council resolution, and this sets the maximum expenditure limit for the next budget year. I just want to bring to your attention that we had a number of work sessions that again started in February this year, provided a lot of detailed information on revenues, expenditures, fund balances. We also spoke a little at the council advance with some key priorities both from council and some operating budget initiatives that were being proposed. We presented the draft budget on April 28th. And again, tonight you'll be asked to adopt the tentative budget. Following this adoption, we are required to publish the budget schedules, which you'll find in the back of the book, for 2 consecutive weeks in the local paper. The final budget adoption will take place on June 23rd. At that meeting, there is a public hearing, and then the council will be asked to reconvene and adopt the final budget and set the property tax levy, which will occur on July 14th. Moving ahead to more of the fiscal impact, where the money comes from here, the total proposed budget is $405 million. Of that, a significant portion is carryover from the current year. It includes $173 million of carryover. That's mainly from the capital improvement plan that Ken had spoke about recently. Of those expenditures of the 173, the largest part is the ballpark, which is $65 million. There's another $102 million in just capital improvement projects. $26 million of that is from the McDowell Road Commercial Corridor ID. As far as the new money goes, we are anticipating $232 million of new revenue. Again, no surprise for a city growing like we are. Most of that comes from the CIP. It includes new bonds for the second ball team facility.
Slides.
No?
Talking about figures, we're talking about percentages. You said where the money goes.
Where it comes from. Where it comes from, the revenue source. Did I say where it goes?
That's what I thought.
Okay.
I may be wrong.
I apologize. I'm talking about the revenues and where it comes from. Again, new revenue at $232 million with proposed bonds for the second ball stadium. There's also $8 million included in water sewer revenue bonds and $36 million in a proposed improvement district. As far as additional revenues, there's $24 million is anticipated for user fee charges, which come from basically the water services, wastewater services, and sanitation. There is 22% comes from state and local taxes, such as sales tax, state shared revenues, and also included in that would be $13 million in development services related charges. Here we go, where the money goes. On the expenditure side of the equation, again, we're estimating $405 million, which would be the maximum expenditure set by this tentative budget adoption. The largest portion of this is 60% comes from capital spending. Again, there's $167 million coming from carryover. Largest part, again, is the stadium and the capital improvement projects. The operating budget represents 20-some%, and that's roughly $83 million. That includes all the department budgets, their salaries, contractual services, and commodities. We budgeted $18 million in debt service this year. We've also included the $20 million contingency that was talked about earlier. That has been set aside for unseen or emergency expenditures. Moving ahead to more of the detail of the operating budget, again, it's $83 million. This includes all the city departments. I want to bring to your attention the largest portion of this is represented by public safety. It is roughly about 29% of the budget. Public Works is the next largest portion at 27% and includes a number of divisions such as streets, facilities, fleet, parks, and recreation. Water resources would be the other most significant department expenditure at 14%. I just wanted to reiterate, I know Ken went over a few things in his presentation. There were council priorities that initiatives that move forward that we talked about at the advance. The budget as proposed does include bond funding for the second team facility as well as the start of the city center and the library projects. It includes design for both those projects. We were able to accommodate 6 new positions in public safety, keeping that a priority. The expansion of the water and wastewater systems included in the CIP, and project for monument signs. As far as the operating budget goes, we didn't have a formal process to do supplemental requests. A number of initiatives moved forward, such as the stadium. We have the operating costs that were included there. It includes 7 new positions. We also were able to accommodate through some budget savings number of personnel-related increases, such as comp class, the health insurance that Dean did the presentation on tonight. The costs are included for that. Some public safety retirement commitments that the city will have to fund. Information technology did receive 1 position. And again, public safety, we were able to accommodate 6 new positions. I think worthy to note here is that 6 positions that were funded and approved within other departments were actually put on hold, will not be funded, will be held vacant so to allow for the police positions. The budget includes matrix management study recommendations of $1 million and then some costs for the court improvements. And with that presentation, I'll be happy to entertain any questions you may have on the proposed or the tentative fiscal year 08-09 budget.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions from the public? Okay. Ask the clerk to read the resolution by title only, please.
Resolution 08-1234, a resolution of the Mayor and Council of the City of Goodyear, Maricopa County, Arizona, adopting the tentative estimates of the amounts required for the public expense for the City of Goodyear for the fiscal year 2008-2009, adopting a tentative budget, setting forth the receipts and the amounts estimated as collectible for the previous fiscal year, the amount proposed to be raised by direct property taxation for the various purposes, giving notice of the time for hearing taxpayers, for adopting a budget and fixing of the tax levies.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion to approve the resolution?
Mayor, I move that the council adopt resolution 08-1234 approving tentative budget for year 08 and 09, set the public hearing June 23rd, 2008, as read also by our attorney.
Second it.
A motion from Councilmember Cavalier and a second from Councilmember Holland. It's open for discussion. Over here.
Sorry, I saw Frank raise his
Yeah,
hand.
I do have a question.
Yes, sir.
On the Public Works, the budget, you mentioned this was for streets. Some of this was going for streets. Is any of this new streets, or is this for repair of existing streets, or is this both? Is this all mixed together?
Councilmember Cavalier, this is for the repair and maintenance. The capital improvement plan is included in here, but Ken has the detail on that you received earlier
Right.
tonight.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor?
Construction sales tax again is how much of our revenue?
The percentage?
No, total dollar now.
It's estimated at
Is it estimated?
15 million next year, 16 estimate this year, and then 15 for next year.
16 for current fiscal year, 15
Correct.
for next fiscal year.
Right.
Okay. I just, one suggestion for the book, that page 19 that tells you how to read the book, ought to be like page 1. I know you're trying to, maybe make us feel important but by putting this up front, but personally, I'd like to see how to read the book first, then,
a rogues gallery
then get
is
to
what it
page
is.
19 and figure it out. So that's just a thing. I mean, just for, not teasing, it's just the general public picks this up. Kind of the how to read would be nice to
Can't be
have.
serious.
You'll go to page 19 first now? Yeah. Now that I told you, right. You don't need to read about us.
Yeah, you do.
And I've been asking this since we talked about construction sales tax, and really the spirit of us adopting the construction sales tax was for one-time expenditures, and I have a hard time extrapolating that information from here. I don't know if it's. I mean, I looked through this book over and over and over and over and over again, and I don't find construction sales tax. I find sales tax, and we group it and we lump it all in together. But now we're starting to have discussions about moving 1.2 to 2.0 on that 5,000 and above. So I don't understand the impact of that as well as I probably should within the budget book. And I don't understand the sales tax and one-time expenditures outside of the verbal communication we've had here. And so if I'm looking at that, it's just something that would be nice to add as you transition here from tentative to final budget. If we can, and I know, Larry, I think you sent this to me after a work session, and I have it in my email somewhere, at least, but this was 3 months ago, I think, now, and the stuff has changed. But I'm looking at this, and I want to make sure we're spending that on one-time expenditures and not spending it on operating revenue, and I can't, or spending it on operating expenses, and I can't decipher that out of the code manual, i.e. the budget book. Does that make sense? Maybe you can
It
help
is
me
out-
decipher. Is it in there?
It is. It's outlined
Did I-
in Schedule A,
Okay. Maybe I missed it then.
and we'd be happy to explain this to
Okay.
you.
It's in Schedule A?
It shows as capital
Property taxes,
revenue
grants?
source on the bottom.
Oh, it's under the capital. Okay. Sorry. I was looking under taxes. Okay, I'll take back everything maybe I said at the end of the meeting. I was looking under Schedule 2 as all funds revenue as well. I was trying to find it in there. CIP, contingency. All right, forgive me.
It's all right. Okay, just a question, Larry, goes back a couple of years. We're going to have, and I use the word cash, but on 1 July, if you take out all of our commitments,
It's called capital.
how much cash are we going to have on 1 July to include contingency fund? Or will it only be contingency fund?
It will be, when you take out the commitments, it will be $20 million cash,
Okay, period.
period.
Okay.
No extra.
Well, well, okay, great.
Submit your expense account.
Okay, I got did I get a,
Yeah, you got it.
yeah, I did. Okay,
One last
roll call vote?
One last question.
Yeah.
Does this make the assumption that we changed that 1.2 to 2.0?
No, it does not.
We have not, okay, we have not closed that discussion. Okay.
No. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Sousa.
Aye.
Councilmember Cavalier.
Aye.
Councilmember Lord.
Aye.
Councilmember Holland.
Aye.
Councilmember Osborne.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Antoniak.
Aye.
Mayor Kavanaugh.
All right.
That's 7-0.
Okay, comments about current events from our council?
Mayor, I have one. Go ahead.
Okay, well, we'll get to that one. But, no, okay, yes, sir.
Just a report on the last RPTA meeting, and we're having one this, in fact, Thursday of this week also, and that is concerning the budget for the RPTA for 2008, 2009, and that is with the addition of new bus routes and some cities will need bus stops and the whole works put in, and it's a costly affair for the RPTA, which comes out of the Proposition 400 money. And there are some cities like Goodyear who've had those already put in, and I'm requesting that RPTA give us credit the fact that we have the bus stops in, so no matter where our buses come in the future, covered bus stops, the roads are, curbs are built, and it's going to be a savings to the RPTA and Proposition 400. Neither of the other cities do this also, or cities who have this, like us, get credit for it. So I just wanted to say that's what I'm pushing for, and I discussed at the budget subcommittee, and also will come up Thursday at the RPTA main meeting. So I'm pushing for that. I don't know how fortunate I'll be, but.
Yes, sir.
Where does that credit go?
Well, we'll work it out so that we get more in more buses, and we can move up part of what is coming to Goodyear a little closer than the tail end as they have us in the past, so that we can move our transportation system closer to where we should be at the end of this Proposition 400 money. And assuming that because the west side is on the tail end of this, contingency fund keeps shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. I'm very concerned about that, and so I want to make sure there's enough money, there never is, that we get our share at the end. And this is one way I'm pushing for it. So just to let you know, and then I'll give you further details on how we progress on it.
Thank you very much for your efforts.
I hope that explains it. Okay.
Okay. All right, city manager, comments.
The only item I have, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, is Romina is going to give a brief update on the legislative things.
Okay.
She's wanted 10 to 15 minutes. I asked her to be briefer so that we can go into executive session.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a while since I've been up here, and there's been some new developments at the legislature. I just wanted to make sure that you all were up to date. I know that you've been hearing the news and reading the paper, and so there's a lot of things that are going on. I just wanted to connect the dots for you. The legislature has gone through and completed the current year budget, which is, supposed to be an accomplishment. The revised budget, it made many cuts to the state agencies. It shifted some of the appropriations to the next year. It swept monies from dozens of special funds, and it used rainy day funds in order to balance. It did not touch shared revenue, as we discussed the last time. We were pretty safe in that area, but it did touch in some areas of impacting some cities. It took $4.1 million from the State Lake Improvement Fund. It took $18.1 million from the State Aviation Fund. It swept $1 million from the Arizona Welcome Center in Yuma, and it took $1.5 million from the Arizona, the conditional appropriation for the Arizona Welcome Center in Yuma, $1 million from the Prosecuting Attorney Council Fund, and $42 million from the STAN Fund, which was the largest hit to the cities. But we did know that was coming. We did discuss that. It was just something that, we couldn't stay away from. So the STAN Fund was the largest hit for the cities, which obviously is it's a huge hit for our transportation, but it was transferred to DPS for their highway patrol costs, which is what it was used for. This next fiscal year, the legislature is still in negotiations. What they've currently done that is different than in the years past is they've put together negotiating teams, a negotiating team in the House and one in the Senate, and they're negotiating together before they go to the governor. We are expecting a Republican budget any day. It was supposed to be done on Friday, and it still has not surfaced. There are a lot of items that are in the Republican budget. Nothing is concrete. No information has been given really to anybody at this point, so it's just a waiting game. Last week there was a hearing on another issue, which I'll be discussing in a little bit, but the governor did state in that hearing when she was asked about her budget that she is not planning and does not want to touch shared revenue, and her budget doesn't do that so far. The one big issue that's continuing to change during the budget discussions is that the economic indicators show that Arizona is on a long-term deficit. The state is not going to be facing a 1 or 2 year, $1 billion, $2 billion deficit. We're looking at probably 3 to 4 years out of the same fate. Because of this, the legislature needs to look beyond one-time fixes and quick fixes to get this budget balanced. In doing so, the latest from this morning was that state shared revenues obviously is going to be discussed if it's a long-term issue. And the second thing is talking about the sales tax base. At some point, our tax revenue structure has to be, a topic of discussion, because really the tax revenue base, the sales tax revenue base, just doesn't cover for the growing state that we're in right now. So there are some long-term discussions that are going to start happening. I don't know that they'll happen for this year, but it's definitely a realistic matter if the economics continues to be the way that it is, which is $1 or $2 billion of deficit for the next 3 or 4 years. As I said last week, or I think it was 2 weeks ago, ASU, and I'm bringing this forward to you only for your knowledge, and then also I know that a lot of citizens are reading some of this stuff, so in case you're out there discussing this, you are aware of what's happening. I'm going to put in your boxes a book that the universities have put together, and it's called Stimulus Plan for Economic and Educational Development. It's a SPEED coalition, and I'll put it in your boxes tonight. I just got them delivered earlier, or last week. And what this is doing is the universities have decided to try to stimulate the economy, and it's all 3 universities are working together. It's a $1.4 billion over 30 years in long-term capital financing, and it's being used to improve and expand the facilities at the 3 universities. The universities are committing to pay 20% of the $1.4 billion, and the 80% is a state portion that's going to be invested starting in 2010, with payments going out, for 30 years. The state cost of this is in fiscal year 10, $28 million, $11.54, and then 12 and on, $84 million. The idea is the universities are in desperate need of their infrastructure. Their buildings are old, they're growing at exponential rates, and they're not able to take in the students that we need to take in. This is an ongoing problem for them, the idea was if the state can invest in this now, it'll create 14,000 new construction jobs and 16,000 more jobs outside of the direct construction, more indirect, which will equal 30,000 new jobs. And if you are part of the discussions in the construction industry, that's about how many jobs were lost last year. About 30,000 jobs in the construction industry were lost last year. So the idea is to be able to at least backfill some of those jobs and be able to keep construction workers from leaving Arizona to other states, because construction workers are fairly mobile and they really do leave when there's no positions. So the idea is maybe to keep the workers here so that we don't have a shortage of workers in the future when we do start to rebound. And it completes a long-term needed infrastructure for the Arizona State universities. This is, I don't know how well it's going over. It's part of the budget discussions. Obviously, it's a huge hit, but it's a part of the infrastructure that needs to get done. The outstanding legislative issues that we still have is the impact fee legislation, which we've discussed a few times. It is currently in the House. It was being held until, actually, I just got the schedule for tomorrow, and it's going to be heard tomorrow in House caucus. It was being held as part of the budget negotiations, kind of a political move. You hold the president's bill and, you get more people at the table. That's being released, so tomorrow we will see that movement. I can definitely go over the provisions in there if you'd like me to. In the interest of time, it's completely up to you if you want me to go ahead and do that. And the other piece is the GPLET. Both of those bills are currently being held. Senator Chevron's bill is Senate Bill 1360, and that we've defeated that a few times, but Senator Chevron is working very closely with Republican leadership and is offering up his time and his dedication for a budget if he gets some sort of GPLET legislation through. So we're not finished with that product. We will see some sort of GPLET move. I don't know if it will pass. We're working on stopping anything that does come through. Hopefully anything that does move is Mr. Nelson's bill, which is the better of the two, and that's House Bill 2803. So that's where we are on that. This is the most popular thing that's going around right now, which is the transportation plan that the governor has proposed. It is currently $42 billion over 30 years paid by a 1% sales tax increase. All I can say about this one is it's been through 100 reiterations. It is a very difficult topic to discuss. It's one of those things where we all need transportation. We know we have a big problem in transportation, but is this the right way to handle it? I'm going to go through quickly just the breakdown as it follows in the current initiative. This is something that you all should be aware of because there are signatures being gathered in the community. There are going to be voters and citizens that are going to want to know what you think about this. We don't have an official position at the City of Goodyear. None of the cities have an official position. Most councils are just getting information only sessions so that they know about it, and it's really up to you what you want to tell your citizens when they ask you, what do you think about this plan? Out of the 42 billion is what it should say, sorry about that, 55% of that are monies that are to be dedicated for roads and highways. That breaks down, 49% of the 55% goes to Maricopa County, 39% to Pima, 12% to other counties. 18% of the sales tax is dedicated for rail and transit projects. 8% of that goes to the RPTA. 5% goes to the Pima equivalent of RPTA, and then all the remaining stays in what's called the Rail Time Fund to be used for commuter rail and high-speed rail. 20% of the sales tax monies are to be dedicated to local transportation projects, as listed, followed. 60% of the 20% goes to cities and towns in Maricopa County, and that's actually based on population. The distribution is based on population, not on HERF. For the 38% of all the counties outside of Maricopa, it is based on HERF funds, and 2% goes to the Indian tribes. 4% of the 42 billion goes to transportation-related enhancements, as you can see there, and 3% goes for open space conservation. So that's kind of the breakdown in general of what the initiative currently says. The money, all Maricopa County monies have to go through the MAG process because we are in a non-attainment area. So all monies that are for highway funds are going to have to, it really goes to MAG. It's a pot of money that goes to MAG, and then we all decide what happens, the fate of that money at MAG. The 20% of the sales tax monies that are dedicated to local transportation projects go directly to the cities. They're, like I said, distributed based on population over the 30 years. The sales tax that we're talking about, the 1%, is not going to be implemented until January 1st, 2010. That's when it's a delayed implementation. And there is a provision in the initiative for public-private partnerships, and it will be managed and monitored all by ADOT. And then they currently need 153,000 signatures. Their goal is to get 220, room for error, and it's got to be done by July 3rd. So that's currently the makeup of the initiative. It's a pretty aggressive agenda, and we'll see how they work on the initiative, on the 6 signatures. And that's it. If you have any questions.
Questions?
Well, I guess we could talk about the governor signing the home builders impact.
There was, in the reiteration before it was posted on the Secretary of State website, there was 5 pages in the initiative that was dedicated towards impact fees. That was an issue that they discussed with the home builders and the development community. The development and the home building community did not support the impact fee provision that was in the initiative. They are major funders of the initiative, so that was taken out. And in return, they promised to support the initiative with funds, as well as not oppose the state trust land initiative that is being run. So that was the deal that was made with that.
This is good.
Okay. Thanks, Romina.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anything else, John? Okay, opportunity for council to ask questions of staff.
A question of Public Works. How long is the action on Litchfield Road going to be going on with the cable or the laying of the cable? I think that's a never-ending project.
Yeah, Mayor, council members, that's the associated with the fiber optic project that we're using. ADOT is administering the project. It was a MAG-funded project. We're finishing up. Right now they're just pulling in the pull boxes and checking into the short connections throughout the run. The run starts from MC85 and goes north to Wigwam, so it's a substantial
amount of tubing and conduit to look into. I'll get that report back to you. I don't know off the top of my head when it'll be completed, but I'll get that to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
I have one question. Could we get an update on all of our city committees or commissions that we've tried to get going over the past year? The sister cities, the youth commission, all the other things, the centennial. That I'd really like to know where we stand on those right now.
We'll do, we were talking about that today. So.
Are you? Okay.
Okay, I guess there's no follow-up action required then?
No, sir, except for that.
Except for what?
Except for
Yeah, oh, that's true. Okay. Okay, we're going to adjourn this, and then we have an exec session. Can we go at 7:30? Is that agreeable? Okay, this meeting's adjourned.